5 years ago, I went for my first time up to the Canadian Rockies. Now, I've been back several times since then, but I learned something on that first trip, and it wasn't something I learned from the beautiful landscapes or those perfectly blue and green lakes. It was something that someone said, and if I'm honest with you, I don't remember who said it. But I had gone up to Canada to hang under the umbrella of a crew from Socality. There were a lot of us up there, and there were some really well-known photographers, some that have inspired thousands of other photographers, guys like Garrett King, Scott Backen. And I can't remember if this was said by one of them, which would make sense, or if it was said by just people around a campfire. I truly don't remember. And before I get too far into it, let me illustrate where I'm going like this. In the early 2000s, this revolutionary TV show came on and I was hooked. You might remember it. It was called House MD. Hugh Laurie played this grumpy doctor who solved all these medical cases, and I was hooked. I think the show came out in like 2004 or 5 and ran for several seasons. Loved that show. And I remember thinking this guy was like perfectly cast as Dr. House. Then I saw him on like a late night talk show and I found out that he was British. So I heard him not doing his New England accent, but doing a British accent, and it kind of freaked me out a little bit. And on the show, House would often play piano or guitar. But then I find out that Hugh Laurie is like an accomplished jazz musician and blues musician, and then the dude goes on and drops an album, or more than one album, and he's an accomplished musician as well as this like incredible actor. Now, of course, we can separate fiction from reality. I know him as an actor who's on television. I've seen him in some movies as well, but that's how I know him. I know him as an actor. So whenever he drops a music album, it was really hard for my brain to reconcile what I knew he did with this other thing that he's incredibly good at. So let's rewind it now back to Canada. When I was up there, I was having this conversation or listening to somebody else's conversation. Again, I do not remember who said it, but they were making a case that the labels that we impose on ourselves, whether you are a photographer, a musician, or an actor, ends up being a prison cell that now you must create in. Meaning that whether you do this to other people or not, like I did with House when I found out that he was a musician, we actually do it to ourselves as well. We think of ourselves as the thing that we do, and we begin to wrap our identity around the thing that we do. So at a micro level, I am a photographer that shoots on the Leica camera system. If I zoom out a little bit, I'm a photographer. And if I keep zooming out, at what point does photography disappear? And all of the things in the arts that I do creatively become the umbrella in which I view myself. See, one thing I've learned over the years is that most people don't just have like this one thing that they do, but they carry that one thing that they may be known for as their title of what they do. And therefore they get stuck and trapped in that very thing. And I wonder what creative output gets missed because we insist on carrying a label on ourselves. Now, that person that was sharing this concept went on to say this, and this is the thing that I haven't forgotten that really changed my life. They said, stop thinking of yourself as a photographer and start thinking of yourself as a creative. And look, that greatly resonated with me because at the time, I was actually writing a book. Here's the thing, I was questioning if I was a writer because of the other things that I did. And if you want to take this idea even further, the way our society has pigeonholed everybody into this thing that they do has created a very harmful system that now your creative output, even if it's just for you, becomes this thing that you begin to question in yourself. And many of us may find ourselves bailing on passion projects or things that we might have within us simply because we don't see ourselves under that label. And I think that those things are incredibly dangerous for us. So it was around 2019 that I began to shift away from this label, this self-imposed label of I am a fill in the blank. And now I just love to use the word, I'm a creative. Now, if you've watched this channel for some time, I typically start my videos off by saying, my name's Dave, I'm a photographer, there it is, and videographer, there's another one, from the Bay Area of California. Now, I have no problem saying this, and maybe you shouldn't either, because we do contextualize what we do into a craft that we can actually label. A musician makes music, a photographer takes photos, a videographer or filmmaker makes films, and so forth and so forth. This video is not about how you express what you do to others, rather how you see yourself. I can tell you as an elder millennial of 40 years of age that my creative output has changed over the years. It has been in music, it has been in photography, it has been in video and filmmaking, it has been in writing. And if I'm honest with you, I don't know what my creative output will look like over the next decade of my life. But I do know that I don't lock myself in a prison by self-imposing just one name across who I am and my identity as a creative. Rather, I just know that I am a creative, and that may manifest itself in a plethora of different ways. I think it's wise for us as creatives to carry that title and drop any type of self-imposed box on what we do with our creative output. That time in Canada, that very first time I was up there, was probably one of my most orienting experiences in my life that has given me, for the past 5 years, direction and freedom for my own creative output, whether it's by writing, whether it's through photography. I started this YouTube channel after telling myself that I don't do video. No, like I'm a creative, I can do video. It's just an output. A message like this can be met with encouragement or affirmation, but it can also be a bit challenging. What I would love to hear from you is all of the different ways you have creative output in your life. And if you struggle with the same thing, identifying yourself by your current creative output. See yourself as a creative. Drop a comment below and let me know about your different creative output and where to find it. And as a community, let's check out each other's creative outputs and let's see what we got going on. I didn't say it in the beginning, but I'm Dave. I am a creative from the Bay Area of California. And if you like this kind of stuff, be sure to subscribe. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.